Hello, Joy Guild. I am AJ the Joy Weaver, and I'm super excited. Today, we're going to talk about bravery, and we're going to talk about all of the things. So buckle up, throw me on a walk if you're listening on the YouTube or in your headphones or just like curling up on the couch. I'm excited. So this was our theme last month, and then May is a new month, so we're doing new stuff this month. But I wanted to dive in hardcore here. So if you're listening to this in the very future, does not matter what month it is. I hope you enjoy this. Okay, so I want to read you a quote from Burning Woman, and it's by Julie Daly. Her fire burns hot, flames lick through me, but there's no stake holding me here. No, she burns for me, the goddess of fire, to remind me that deep in my belly, a fire should be raging, burning, consuming. The women of my line, did they fear this fire? Was fire too close to the history of this line of women immemorial? I see them, their faces dark, no firelight in their souls, no burning in their core, no fuel to fire longing and desire to give volume to voice. The spear of fire, how deep does it run? I see them, a line bleeding back into the dark bowels of centuries past where no flame burns. Dark faces, tightly drawn skin reminding me of my own jawbone. How powerful was this message? Put out your light, woman. By fearing your own fire, we douse our own flame. We cannot live what we are here to do without fire. Julie Daly. So I love this. And the reason why is because I think in all the times that I have led tents and walked alongside people is that we're nervous that we're too much and not enough all at the same time. Do too much fire or not enough fire. And I think sometimes we let our fires go out. We always have embers, right? That we can respark and reburn. It's always a cycle. And we can burn out too if we burn too much, if we're trying to do all of the things. So there's this line of trusting ourselves of what fire means to us and how that carries through. And for me, that's what bravery is. That's quintessential bravery, is choosing yourself and choosing the truth and choosing integrity and choosing your values over what anybody else is saying. And sometimes that's absolutely terrifying. And sometimes it's not safe, right? So there's also a whole discussion here, which we're not going to get into today because we're going to dive into some other stuff about when it's safe to be brave and being brave for other people and the people who are going to come after us. So all of this shows up together as well, because when you're brave and you make a choice of this is the next right step, and although it's scary, I know I need to do it, that's creating ripple effects in your life of other people are going to see that and say, you know what, if she did this, if they did this, I can do this too. Then it's possible for me as well, right? So in our old bravery tent, one of the things we talked about was being a shield maiden. Sometimes when we're being brave, our fear likes to tell us that we're completely alone. Like nobody loves you. Nobody's like going to be here for you. Nobody has your back. But I want us to think about if you've seen the show Vikings with the gorgeous costumes that I know are not historically accurate, but they're absolutely fabulous. They have shield maidens who fight, and they have shield walls and all of these things, but they're fighting for something. And even if they're in the middle of the battle and like kind of going at it one-on-one with somebody, there's people fighting around them for the same thing. They just got to look to the left and to the right when they see them. So something's coming up for you about being brave and like, oh, I can't. Where can you find imagery? Where can you find inspiration? Where can you find people who are doing these things, who are speaking up, who are asking these questions that you are, who are made a relationship choice that was important to them, who tended their souls, who got physical help or therapy help? Because when we can see an example, it helps us say, okay, they're doing it too, so can I. In one of my interviews I just did for the book, I asked her what her favorite part of tent was. And she said that I'm not alone. And I heard people's stories, and people were sharing their trauma and things that happen. And I thought it was just me, and I thought I was just crazy. And then I realized it was all of us. And all of us had been taught to be quiet and not tell our stories. And as we started sharing, it was just, everything was kind of coming out. And I think that happens here in Joy Guild, and I think that happens in life, right? when we're more honest with ourselves and other people, me too. Oh, and there's like this moment of rest and like, okay, maybe I can do this. Yeah. And I don't mean to speak of bravery in such vague terms, but I think bravery is doing the next right step. When you dial it down, it could be a lot of things, right? Big things, small things, all the things. They all fall under bravery. Freedom, bravery. Waking up in the morning and you have kids and you're trying to do this, bravery. Waking up in the morning and you're like, okay, I'm going to brush my teeth, bravery. There shouldn't be a ranking system for doing the next right step in your life. And when you're doing the next right step, not, okay, mini tangent here. There's been some reactions in the wellness world. I don't know how tapped in you are to it, but about self-care and self-care being really selfish and dumb. But I think, and when we're taking care of ourselves, as dumb as it sounds, the oxygen mask thing, we're also making our communities better, right? We've seen our grandparents be burnt out or not have the tools of language, of feeling their emotions, of processing. We've been around a friend who's wounded and doesn't know how to ask for help. We've been with a narcissistic friend or lover who wasn't okay being vulnerable, right? And that impacts the community. So can we take our perspective shift and think, if I'm tending myself, if I'm nurturing myself, that's going to also nurture my community. And we can do both at the same time. This is not a, I'm fine, I've got mine, like screw you kind of situation. It doesn't have to be. And I think anything that teaches us that bravery is, kind of like the billionaire capitalism, like, oh, I don't care. Like, we do care, and that's why we're being brave, is because we're saying something about this doesn't fit quite right. And I bet it could be better. I bet it could be more beautiful. I bet this could have more integrity or more wholeness, or that more people would feel welcome if we did X. Are you following me? So let me know if you have any questions about that, but I just feel like it's important to be noted that when people are not doing the work, it impacts the community. So if you are doing the work, can you imagine the impact that has of saying, hey, I see you. Hey, let's chat about that. How are you feeling? What's coming up for you here? Do you want advice or do you want me to just listen? I remember the first time a friend asked me, what would feel supportive for you? And I was like, what? And then I like took that phrase and I ran with it. And I was like, I'm using this everywhere. Language gives us tools to be brave. Examples give us tools to be brave. Think of it, tiny marbles of bravery. Little bits add up over time. Glennon Doyle is awesome. And if you haven't read Untamed, grab your book. It's great. She writes, what kind of life, relationship, world? Okay, no, I lied. Hold on. I'm just going to read this because it's so good. So buckle in. This is on page 73. Let it burn. I guess fire and bravery. I did not plan this. When we let ourselves feel, I did plan the thing. I just didn't know it was called Let It Burn. When we let ourselves feel, our inner self transform. Oh, yes. Something I wanted to mention. Bravery comes from acknowledging, right? When we acknowledge, when we bring awareness to situation, then we have a knowing. When you have a knowing, then you have to do, right? We stop ourselves with our curiosity because we're like, oh, but like, if I know, then like, that's a big deal, right? If somebody's cheating, there's like, maybe are they cheating? And then and then you're like, oh, okay, you can't unknow. So when we have the self-awareness, when we're doing the work, when we're doing the shadow work, when we're uncovering things, when we're digging in, when we're asking questions, when we're growing, when we're setting boundaries, those are big moments of bravery because then you know, right? When you ask for what you need, you know if they're going to meet you or not. So it's a big deal. That's it. When we act upon our knowing, kind of your intuition, that kind of like whole body, like rightness, we have a meditation on it. I think from Bravery. And there's another one too. Sultry will help you with that too. And imagination, our outer worlds transform. Living from the worlds within us will change our outer worlds. Here's the rub. Destruction is essential to construction. If we want to build the new, we must be willing to let the old burn. We must be committed to holding on to nothing but the truth. Nothing but the truth. We must decide that if the truth inside of us can burn a belief, a family structure, a business, a religion, an industry, it should have become ashes yesterday. Side note. Remember, beliefs are just mental objects that our brain holds. If we feel, know, and imagine, our lives, families, and world become truer versions of themselves. Eventually. But at first, it's very scary. Because once we feel, know, and dare to imagine more for ourselves, we cannot unfeel, unknow, or unimagine. There's no going back. We are launched into the abyss, the space between the not true enough life we're living and the truer one that only exists inside of us. So we say, maybe it's safer to just stay here. Even if it's not true enough, maybe it's good enough. Right to the heart, right? But good enough is what makes people drink too much and snark too much and become bitter and sick and live in quiet desperation until they lie on their deathbed and wonder, what kind of life, relationship, family, world might I have created if I had been braver? The building of the true and beautiful means the destruction of the good enough. Rebirth means death. When a truer, more beautiful version is born inside of us, life is in the direction of that vision. Holding on to what is no longer true enough is not safe. It's the riskiest move because it is the certain death of everything that was meant to be. We are alive only to the degree in which we are willing to be annihilated. That feels really intense to me too, don't worry. Our next life will always cost us this one. If we are truly alive, we are constantly losing who we were, what we just built. That is what we believed, what we just knew to be true. I have lost identities, beliefs, and relationships it has hurt to lose. I have learned that when I live from my emotions, knowing, and imagination, I am always losing. What I lose is always what is no longer true enough so that I can take full hold of what is. A little bit later, it says, when women lose themselves, the world loses its way. We do not need more selfless women. What we need right now is more women, people, who have detoxed themselves so completely from the world's expectations that they are full of nothing but themselves. What we need are women who are full of themselves. A woman who is full of herself, knows and trusts herself enough to say and do what must be done. She lets the rest burn. Right? Intense. Both these books they get you. The way, I'm so curious. So please comment below this and let me know how these things are hitting you. But for me, when I read those things, it feels like the life I'm living, like, not get shit on, but like, oh, it's not good enough, so I'm not doing the true thing or not doing the work, right? And that is not true and not the takeaway I want you to get from that. I want you to keep thinking, this is my life I'm living. This is my gift that I have. What would feel amazing to do next? What would feel great and beautiful and good? This isn't a shaming tool. This isn't anything we should feel guilty about, right? Because we made our choices and past us was doing the best they could at the time. Last week, I was hella pissed at past AJ for not working harder on the book, I don't know, for the last year and having me do so much work last week. Nothing I could really do about it, but being brave just looked like showing up every day for multiple hours and like getting this stuff done and sending it in Saturday night. But how do we want to show up? How would we like to show up? Right? Because shame's not conducive to growth. So bravery is asking that question and then making those tiny shifts, right? Small things. We don't have to remodel. I mean, maybe some things look like clean swiping and being like, done with this job, I'm done with this relationship, I'm moving, whatever. They can look like these different things. But I think we also need to give ourselves permission for bravery to look like these small shifts where we feel more aligned, where we feel more whole, where we feel more true. And when we do that, it's easier to keep saying yes to yourself, right? Your knowing is good. Your heart is good. You are loved and made with purpose and reason. And there's been disconnect in our society from our brains and bodies in trusting ourselves. And so I think step one of bravery is learning how to listen and ask and then take the next right step. And it can be a small thing. So that's my encouragement for you today with bravery of what's the next right step? What feels good and brave and true? And it might be like drinking more water, right? I want to take better care of my body. Great. This does not mean you have to sign up for CrossFit, although I really like CrossFit. I haven't been in a long time because now they want $100. So I'm like, yeah. I am about to join the YMCA, so I'm excited about that. But maybe it looks like drinking more water, or maybe it looks like, oh, like I've always wanted to be an artist or whatever, and going to Ross and grabbing some cheap paints and having some fun just for yourself. When we feel sated and taken care of, we take less resentment into our lives. Resentment, bitterness, it eats away at us. And it's easy to say, I'm fine, I'm okay. But there's tension there, right? My best friend calls it my pageant girl smile when I'm like, yes. And sometimes people don't see it, right? When we're masking, when we're just like, it's fine, it's all good, it's good, it's good, it's solid. If you're not ready to tell other people, I hope that you're honest with us in the Joy Guild and that we can walk alongside you to uncovering what a life looks like where you nurture yourself, where you nourish your soul, and where you tend those around you and your community. Because, friend, it has ripple effects in your life and in others, whether you think so or not. So, love you. I adore you. You're fabulous. And I'm really looking forward to, whenever you are watching this, I'm looking forward to hearing you and hearing your thoughts. What does bravery look like for you? What does it feel like in your body? When have you been brave? You have not been alive this long and not had a single brave moment. So just so you know, there's bravery already in there. We're just tapping into it somewhere. So sing your slow song loudly and have